This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Hi guys, it's ASBYT and welcome back to a brand new video. Now it's been roughly about 2 weeks since I unboxed the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3, and in this video I'm going to go through all of my impressions after using it on and off for about 2 weeks. The good, the bad, the truth. As always, just in case you might be looking to possibly buy this phone, these things may help you decide. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Right, so straight from the start, this isn't going to be a specs video. I did a lot of that on the unboxing video, so make sure you go and check that out if that's what you're interested in. I'll mention a few, but it's not going to be in depth. What I'm going to be telling you is how it sort of performs in everyday use. And I'm going to start with the overall build and design and how I felt it's kind of worked with the slider, because remember, this is one of those 2019 slider trends. So in terms of that slider, it's still as satisfying now, believe me, as it was when I unboxed it. It's not degraded. I mean, it shouldn't do after 2 weeks, right? It should be able to do it up to 300,000 times, which is more than enough for most people's smartphone cycles, but apparently somebody's tested it and it's done even more than that. So in terms of the longevity and the actual build quality, it feels very sturdy. It always snaps into place. It never feels flimsy at all. And believe you me, it's very satisfying, a little bit too satisfying, to be honest. I've often been sat there just doing that amongst friends and everyone's just like, stop doing that, please. It's a little bit annoying. Now, the main function of that slider is, of course, underneath we have the camera and the sensors, etc. Now, because of that, Face Unlock is in that section there. So if you wanted to use Face Unlock, you would have to flick it down and then it would open. So that's fine. It works fine. It works very quick, but it is a two-step thing. As opposed to the normal smartphones that have Face Unlock, it is that fraction slower because of that slide down mechanism. Just thought you should know. Now, we've talked about the build quality and how it snaps into place. Great. The only downside of the slider, the way I see it, is sometimes because it is so sturdy, it's quite hard to actually open due to the shininess of that ceramic back. So because that material is so slippery, you sometimes slip and then you don't get any purchase on it in order to actually open it. You can use a skin, you can use a case. It's just something I thought I should share with you if you are thinking of using this vanilla. If your hands are cold, it's even more difficult. It's literally like an ice rink to open. So I've been using two hands, to be honest. That's another potential downside you might want to think about. Still good though. Fingerprint sensor, on the other hand, is probably the fastest I've used on the market. I mean, unless you actually time it really scientifically, it's the flagship Xiaomi phones, the OnePlus phones, and probably the flagship Huawei phones as well that collectively are the fastest, in my opinion. I certainly wouldn't bet against Xiaomi being the fastest if it were scientifically tested, because it is absolutely lightning, believe me. So just as a quick example, 1, 2, 3. I mean, that is just ludicrous. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I mean, very impressive. Now, in terms of design, massive fingerprint magnet, but everybody says that about smartphones these days. You know that going in, it's a glossy back, you're going to get fingerprints. Of course, you can wipe it, use a skin, use a case, and yes, to stop it scratching, for example, I would advise that, but it kind of takes away from the fact that this is probably, in my opinion, one of, if not the most beautiful smartphone on the market. We know about the full screen display at the front, but that ceramic back, the gold text, it's just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful device. It's the most slipperiest phone I've ever used. That's something to remember. Get out of your pocket. Womp. Good catch. One thing the Lenovo Z5 Pro does have is dual speakers, something the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3 doesn't have. It only has the one speaker on the bottom, and it's not going to blow you out of the water. It's not horrendous. I'll just do a very quick clip for you now. So it's one of those, if you're bothered by the fact that you can sometimes cover the speaker with your hand while you're holding your phone, etc., then again, don't get this phone. If that doesn't bother you, then it won't bother you. Simple as that. In terms of battery, 3200 mAh. It's certainly not the highest. It's a little bit disappointing. It's less than the last iteration, the Mi Mix 2S. And while I feel it kind of outperforms its 3200 3200. That's a funny way to describe the capacity. While I feel it slightly outperforms the 3200 mAh, it does die quicker than the OnePlus 6T, the Note 9, the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. Probably the only battery I feel it outperforms is the Pixel 3 XL. If a headphone jack's your thing, then again I'd avoid this because it doesn't have a headphone jack. Unfortunately guys, that is the trend. 2019, possibly maybe the last year we see on all the major flagships that headphone jack. If not next year, then certainly in 2020. So brace yourselves guys. It's going. Now, of course, it does have quick charge, but that's still not as quick as Warp Charge on the OnePlus phones. And of course, again, the charge that comes with the latest Huawei flagships as well. Now, in terms of performance, can't fault it. Lightning quick, the Snapdragon 845, we know it's a great SoC. The only problem with this is the 855 will be out early next year with all the new devices there, and it will feel a little bit old. It's still a fantastic SoC though. You are going to have absolutely no problems with general day-to-day use, scrolling, using the internet, gaming as well with the Adreno 630 GPU, all those battle royale games that you all seem to love. It's going to absolutely breeze. And yes, it doesn't have things like water cooling, but I'm still not massively convinced by how much better those devices are. I'm sure someone out there will be able to show me some statistics that those liquid cooling devices actually aid gaming on smartphones. I've had no problems gaming on this, that's all I can really say. Now there is a section of consumers that have put off Xiaomi products because of the MIUI OS, which is the kind of skin that Xiaomi put over the top of Android. And while I don't hate it, I'm not completely sold on it. There are some advantages in the fact that it does feel extremely spit it out, just putting my teeth back in there. Extremely quick, very slick, that rhymes. No lags, no freezes, no glitches. On the whole, it works great. Would I prefer more of a stock feel? Yes, but equally I don't want to force that opinion because I feel that's a bit overplayed, the whole it's not stock Android, therefore it's not very good. There is just one thing currently that's holding me back from using this or continuing to use this as my daily driver, and that's the camera. And that is not to say that this camera is not a good camera, because it has scored very well on DxOMark, for example, and on the whole it is a pretty great camera. There are just better ones out there. Just using the Pixel 3 XL's camera, seeing what the Huawei Mate 20 Pro's camera can do, I just feel it's a tiny bit behind those two phones for the camera. And as a result, for me, obviously the social media aspect of my job, it's very key to have a great camera, and that's my only real issue. Of course, you can download different camera apps, like porting the Google Pixel 3 APK onto here, and that is something that I definitely will play around with, but in the past I've always found those APKs to be a little bit glitchy and just not as reliable as it being built in. Now, my main disappointments with that camera is the almost over-the-top beautify mode. It just smooths the face. It doesn't look anywhere near as sharp as I personally like in my photos, and that's mainly on the front-facing camera. The rear camera takes some really nice shots. There is AI capabilities built in. There's also a new night mode as well. And while I feel they are moving in the right direction with their cameras, Xiaomi, they are still a little bit behind. Some photos can overexpose, some are just that little bit soft. All in all, for the everyday user who doesn't need the best camera on the market, it's going to be absolutely fine for you. It's just given the choice, I would try and use the best for me, for my work. I've had no real problems with mobile data connectivity, for example. Call quality seems to be fairly good as well. All in all, I've had no real problems to note. And remember, this version is the Chinese ROM, which I've kind of installed Google services on for the Google Play Store, for example, but the global ROM now is available. The link will be left in the video description below, so if you want to go and get it, then easy peasy lemon squeezy, it's down there. If you want me to do a month's review, a 3 months review, let me know in the comment section below and I will try and follow up with that. All in all, my overall impressions of the Mi Mix 3 is... Settle down, you. All in all, it's a very, very good device. It's probably, in my opinion, one of, if not the most beautiful device on the market. The slider mechanic has its pros and cons. Performance is brilliant. You would expect that with the specs. The battery life is average, and the camera, while it is compared to the whole sea of smartphones on the market, it is up there as one of the better ones. It's not one of the top 2 or 3, and that's the issue I'm having in terms of choosing this to use going forwards into 2019 as my daily driver. If I port the Google camera onto here, then possibly I might use it, and I'll probably update you guys on Twitter if I indeed do that. That's so immature. Right, so as I mentioned at the start, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, and it's an absolutely great tool for you guys who need a new domain, a website, or an online store. It's just a complete all-in-one platform, so you can build a website from the ground up with nothing to install, patch, or update ever. Now, alongside websites, you're also going to need a domain, and you can either set one up on Squarespace or you can transfer one that you've already created on another website. You can manage your products, orders, and inventory all with the touch of a button. Simple, easy, and quick. The customer service is also great, and something I definitely think you should check out, especially considering there's a free trial and there's a 10% offer on right now using the link below. You really have nothing to lose. It's completely free to try. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're new to the channel and want to be notified every time I post a video on anything tech. Pretty much daily content here on YouTube. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. TSBYT, peace out.